So I'm here to give you a short testimony of how God has worked in my life. Now for me it's still very fresh because I only became a Christian on the 12th of March last year. So my name is Annya and I was born and reared in the Dury Road estate. Now a lot of people would say rough area, I would have said a deprived area. A low deprived area, we had fantastic neighbours and we had fantastic friends who were very, very good to us. I was born into a non-Christian home, and even though we were born into a non-Christian home, we were still sent to wee meetings. So the bus would have come up round the estate and the kids would have been like a herd of elephants getting onto a bus to go probably more to get sweets than listen to the gospel. For good attendance you would have got a prize, and I remember receiving a prize and it was a picture and there was a piece of scripture on it, and this scripture sticks with me, and it was Acts 4 and verse 12, and it was, "Neither is there salvation in any other, for there is none other name under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved." And whenever I received this picture I thought, I like this. So it hung in my bedroom for years, and I believe that's never the Lord had sown the seed with me. So unfortunately at the age of 7 my home became a broken home. My father reared my brother and I, and although we didn't have much, we had the love and the care and the support of my dad, and I thank him for that today. And even if I look back then, even though we were non-Christians, God was so good to us. So a few years on then, whenever I was leaving school, I decided to do a career in beauty. And starting a career in beauty, it was amazing, but at this point I was so far, far away from God. I lived for the weekends, and it certainly wasn't for church, it wasn't for anything like that. It was to be going out partying with my mates Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and that's what I did. It was just, that was it. But as I say, sadly to say, I was so far away from God. Eventually then, I met my husband Paul, and Paul was different, and anybody that knows Paul would say, yes, he is different, but he was different to me because he was brought up in a Christian home with two parents who just absolutely loved the Lord, and I could see that in Paul. And Paul has been so good to me, he has been my rock, and he's been so encouraging to me, and I thank the Lord every day for Paul. So we got engaged and we got married, and we attended church, but we didn't join anywhere. And then at one point we were visiting a friend in hospital, and we met this couple, and this couple were a married Christian couple, and automatically we clicked straight away, and it was great friendship. Fantastic, and even to this day we have a very, very good friendship. They were so encouraging to us, they give us so much help and so much care, and they would have took us to meetings, and they would have took us to their church, and their church was in Ballymena Free, and Ballymena Free were deciding to have a mission. And the mission was around the original date of Brexit, and the title for the mission was, "Are you ready to leave?" And I remember driving around the town, and they had boards and things up, and you could see this slogan, and "Are you ready to leave?" And that's, I believe, whenever God started really working in me. So the mission began, and the speaker was Thomas Martin, and he was a prisoner turned preacher. And this particular night he was talking about this piece of scripture, and it was Proverbs 27 and verse 1, and it was, "Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth." And after he'd read that, he hut the pulpit, and he says, "If the Lord comes tonight, where will you be, heaven or hell?" And I remember sitting that night thinking, oh my, this is for me. And that night I had such a heavy heart. And people would have talked about conviction. And I was like, what's conviction? Well, that was me that night. I come home that night, Paul and I did not sleep 1 minute. The conviction was unbelievable. And the next day, Paul and I got up and I says to Paul, this is it. And just thankfully by the grace of God, the next night, the 12th of March, Paul and I committed our life to the Lord. And I cried because I just thought, how could the Lord love a sinner like me? But my story has been my story, but all glory goes to him. And thankfully now to say we have joined First Ahoghill. We love it. We've had so much care and support from everybody. And, you know, it's important to have that church family. Well, for me, you know, it has encouraged me. And, you know, even though today, at the minute where we can't meet up, the most important thing you can do is pray. And, you know, all the news and everything about everything now is the coronavirus. And yes, it's sad. The coronavirus can kill you, but sin will take you to hell. And there's so much fear. And I say, trust in faith and not fear. And one of my favourite verses is Isaiah chapter 41 verse 10. And it's, fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you, I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. And you know, today, I just trust and pray that somebody listening to this will touch your heart. Thanks for listening.